Hello everyone, this is Corey Mitchell from TradeThatSwing.com, and this is your current stock watch list. The date is November 28th, so I'm updating this during the middle of the day. And we are looking at contractions and cup and handle patterns, and at the end we'll look at the tater or trend ATR strategy. Current state of the markets. Health is in good shape for the stock market. That means I'm willing to deploy capital, assuming I see setups I like to trigger. There are lots of stocks on the list. Overall, market conditions, as discussed, this is the process that I go through. Overall market conditions are good, so that's the thumbs up. And then in this area, on this watch list, we're looking for strong individual stocks, the patterns and the trade triggers. This is not necessarily a buy list. It's simply stocks I am watching that I can place trades in based on the patterns and strength that they're exhibiting. So let's go through some of these. These are the parameters for the scan that I ran. 200 stocks on the list, narrowed down to these. Quite a few energy stocks. It'll be interesting to see if they can push up, because energy stocks were really strong. They've been one of the weaker sectors over the last couple weeks. So it'll be interesting to see. They're still holding up pretty good. So it'll be interesting to see if they can start to surge up and become a leading sector again. Let's get into these. TRMD. Fairly simple one here. Little drop, push up, little drop again. Ideally, I'd like this to come up toward these recent highs and consolidate there. This little drop here, we haven't really moved up too much off of it yet. So a little bit more work to do there, but overall, not bad. CF. The only thing I don't like about this is it's been pretty choppy for a while, but you can see we had this drop down in this area here. We have pushed up. That's when we got a little choppy, and then now we have started to contract in here. So this one taking a little bit longer than ideal. I prefer to have the move in, then the consolidation. We have a bit of extra chop in here, but nice little consolidation there. So we'll see if that one plays out. Remember, a lot of these don't end up triggering anyway. They might just fall off, and then we're not interested in them anyway if they drop too much. LPG. This one's a shorter one. It's under a month. We've had the first drop. We had a move up, a little bit of a move down here, and mainly just watching this consolidation area. So we have to move above this consolidation area for that one to be a possible trade. IBN tends to be a little bit gappy. You have these small gaps between each day usually. Something to be aware of. I'd go a little bit smaller position size to accommodate for the potential of a small gap when you get stopped out. But as you can see, drop, move up, second drop. We're moving back toward the highs. Want to see that one consolidate. XOM, one of the oil and gas, getting squeezed in up here. Had a nice run and started to consolidate a bit, but then we dropped away. So we need to get a move above that consolidation that had already happened to trigger into the trade. BTU, first drop, pullback, second drop. We are consolidating, need to move above that consolidation. This is more like a cup and handle where we had this run up, the big pullback. We came back up toward those highs, and now we're in the contraction pattern. CBZ on the... I put notes on most of these, but I didn't put notes on all of them just because a lot of them are pretty much exactly the same. CBZ drop, second drop. That's again potential for a consolidation up here. So if that happens, we would need a move above those highs to trigger. First drop, second drop. We have pushed up off those lows and are consolidating, so a push above this consolidation here. When I say the highs, I'm talking about the consolidation highs, not necessarily the high of the stock way up here. Right, so this is the consolidation I'm watching for a push above that consolidation high. CVI. Another energy stock. First drop, second drop. We've been chopping around here a little bit. Could have had a potential entry here on November 22nd when we had started to consolidate and pushed up. So we are in an entry area potentially with a stop loss below these lows, or at this point we have another little consolidation that has formed, so you could wait for push through there, depending on whether you want the more confirmation of the push up or you want a lower risk trade by entering here, which is a little bit below the original entry point. Makes the stop loss a little bit smaller, so always a trade-off in trading. You can wait for a bit more confirmation and the push up again, or you could take the lower entry with the smaller stop loss. TMDX, first drop, second drop, consolidating there, waiting for a push through that consolidation. This one's still kind of in its infancy of the consolidation. After the pop-up, we've only had 2 days, so ideally another day or two of consolidation would be nice. This one, more of the cup and handle type. Where we had this last drop down, we've erased that, and now we are contracting in. Ideally, a little bit of a push up and then a consolidation in this area around the contraction highs would be nice to see. So that one, yes, a little more work to do. RIDM, nice run up, first drop, second drop, and again we'd need a little bit of a push up or a consolidation near these highs. FTI. And we have pushed up. We did have 1-2 days of sideways movement, so I wouldn't trade. I'm recording this on Monday. Basically, if Tuesday we got a bit of a follow through on that, that wouldn't be bad to go long above. Monday is now the high of that consolidation, so if it continues to push up, might not be bad. These are ones from the prior list. Acadia Health. Didn't really get the consolidation. I had mentioned this one originally last week as a rounded bottom type trade where we pushed above to a higher swing high. We had the pullback, nice consolidation here and a breakout. Running back, but in terms of it, contraction, not really setting up. So I kept it on the list just to keep an eye on it because it has been a decent performer overall, but not really setting up for a contraction at the moment. Would need to move above this area here because we did have prices pulled away from it, but if it can get back up above there, that would be a sign of strength. So a possible entry there, but yeah, it's a little bit iffy, that one. Angled up, strong momentum. It is forming a not too bad, but a little bit of a messy consolidation there. This whole pattern is a little bit choppy. You can see there's not a lot of like white space making the waves very clear, so this overall pattern is a little bit choppy, but we do have a consolidation forming there if we break above it. End phase, rounded, cup and handle. Here was the first drop. We've erased it, and now we've started to form into this contracting pattern. Consolidation there, looking for a break above that consolidation. ET drop, drop, drop. We've come back up. You can see we've fallen off a little bit. We were starting to consolidate, but if we get back above that area, that would be a potential long. Fix this one, angled up a little bit, currently consolidating. There was the original entry point back here, drop, move up, drop. We had started to consolidate, so it could have gone along here. We're basically right back into that area for the first time since that little gap up. So again, possibility to take a long here near that where I've drawn that line, stop loss below, or could wait for a move above this whole consolidation. Again, that trade-off of a smaller stop loss versus and getting a little lower entry point versus getting a higher entry point. This would actually be, if it moved up from here, probably not pretty small stop loss there, but just a difference in entry point. One's higher up. Glop looking pretty good if it can break higher, similar to those other ones that we've discussed recently. It had started to consolidate here and then has just dropped off a little bit, but if it can start rallying back above those few candles that started to form that consolidation, potential long there. Imperial Oil, same thing, needs to move above that recent little consolidation area. Worley was a little bit more of a range. Again, talked about that last week, but we do have 1, 2, 3 bars moving sideways from here, here, and as of Monday breaking out, nice really low volume on that consolidation. That's usually a good sign, especially if we can get some increasing volume coming in on the breakout. PI, again, a bit more of a range type thing, but we are starting to consolidate. Since this is the only thing, ideally another day or so of consolidation and then the breakout would be ideal. And then we move on to the Canadians. Not a ton of Canadian stocks, only 22 showed up on the list. Some of them overlap with the US, such as IMO. Let's take a look at those. Starting with EFN. So we had this pretty messy contraction coming in here, and I had drawn this last week hoping for a consolidation in this area. We are actually getting it now. Once we had this move up, we moved 1, 2, 3 days sideways, but we can see we're dropping today on Monday. That's not a big deal as long as the price moves above this consolidation without selling off too much. Crew Energy, first drop, a little bit of an extra wave in there. We've dropped again. Ideally, would like to see this push up and consolidate around these highs. IMO we'd already talked about, but we'll look at the Canadian version, and you can see just really getting squeezed in there, ideally looking for a move above that recent consolidation. First drop, second drop, pretty much the same pattern, looking for a move above those. We had the little bit of a consolidation starting there. We've dropped below it, but if we can rally back above it, that would be a potential good sign. Lots of stocks that are on the Tater strategy or best swing trading stocks list that are setting up high momentum stock trades. These are ATR indicator based, and instead of going through, I'll go through a few of these, but I really wanted to show just something that you can do on the best swing trading stocks list. I have them listed here, so you can go to FinViz and all the tickers are in here, so you can copy them. Just double click or right click and click select all, copy them, then go to Notepad if you're on a PC or whatever you save a text document in, paste them in there, and then you can go to your watch lists on TradingView, click on this and import list, and give that, when you save that file, give it a name like Strong Stocks November 28th or whatever the date is. I update the list every 2 weeks, so this list can basically stay in here until I create a new one, and then I can delete this old list just by here. I could click the X and then import a new list, and then that way you can see, I can just go to these and see how they are acting relative to the indicators, and it's really quick to go through them once you have that. You can just click your down arrow, and see which ones are close. So I believe like pins was one of the ones that I had mentioned on the list here, along with several others that are hanging out just below the ATR line. So we can see pretty steady. They had a push up, choppy recently for sure, but this high, pushing up toward those highs, if we hang out here and then start breaking higher, could be a decent trade. And so there's several of these that are like that, just listed here, as well as a few others. Let's look at one like BTU, which is also on the contraction list. So we had mentioned the consolidation. We were waiting for a break above it, but according to the tater strategy, we could also enter right now, but our stop loss would be a little bit bigger. So that's the trade-off. We get in a little bit earlier with the tater strategy sometimes, but generally our stop loss is going to be bigger than it will be with the contraction patterns. And you can see starting to build up, and if we can break higher, could be in for a run. So that's one way, just to go through those a lot quicker than trying to figure out on FinViz how close they are to the indicators, or trying to replicate something on FinViz like this. You can just load them right into TradingView if you use TradingView and see the indicators and decide. You can just go through these stocks and decide which ones you really like the look of. There are a lot on the list right now, 134. So obviously won't be able to trade all of them. So it's really a matter of going through these. So I've narrowed it down to a few, and then basically this list, all the lists here are what I'm looking at, and then I'll dig into these and decide which ones I really want to trade. So I might end up only trading one or two of these, maybe one Canadian stock, and then picking one or two out of these to trade. So again, this is the watch list. Gives us a list to pick from, or gives me a list to pick from, and then I'll narrow it down even further by picking a few that I really like the look of and want to trade. So as we discussed, trading is always a bit of a trade-off. We're deciding which ones we like the most, and over time try to make the best decisions that we can based on the stocks we pick. We can also get to see how these other ones act, what criteria was in play, what were the patterns like, and then over time we can make better decisions as we review our trades and see which ones performed well. So that's it for this week's watch list. Hope that helps you out, and until next week, happy trading.